What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Found Men podcast. We are on episode 6. We really appreciate you guys listening. We've got a new setup today, so if our audio sounds a little bit different, we're using a new program. We got some new equipment. We got some fun stuff for you guys today. I'm really excited for what we have in store.
Oh, yeah, it's different for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, to start off, we're going to roll with something that we think will probably continue week to week, and it's going to be Bible trivia. Whole idea is we'll switch back and forth week to week of which one of us ask each other a question, and the whole idea, guys, is we're all gonna be learning together. These are not just like predetermined questions that me and Austin are going to know the answer to and try and sound like higher and mightier than everyone by having Bible knowledge. The whole point is we probably will get these wrong and we'll learn something.
Yeah, I tried asking you what it was, before we started the podcast, and you know.
Yeah, this is true. He did try and ask so that he could pre-prep, but I told him, like, just like the whole rest of this podcast, it's got to be like raw conversations right off the rip, and we got to be relatable. So getting questions wrong is relatable. I want to
sound smart.
Well, we both struggle with that to begin with. So, all right. With that being said, our first question, I really liked this one when I saw it. On which day did God create the sun, moon, and stars? So we're thinking the 6 days of creation, obviously day 7 of rest. Which day did he create the sun, moon, and stars?
Let's see here. I'm going to guess the third day.
Close. Day 4. Day 4. That was good, though. That was good.
Right, yeah.
You tried. I can tell you tried to like remember the verses.
Yeah, you saw the gears turning, some sparks were flying out of my ears.
Exactly. It was a
Smoke.
little bit more smoke than I was comfortable with, but all right. Well, I think you also have something new and special to let everyone know about today.
Oh yeah, so we have our good friend Craig Roberts here. He is another brother in the Found Men Roundtable, and he's here as a guest, and he's actually going to be stepping up next semester, and he's going to be leading Found Men, actually, so, I got something for that.
Yes, claps all around, snaps sound better on live mic.
Let's see, do I snap it?
No. I'm just saying if we snap, that sounds better on a mic than clapping, because clapping would be really...
Awesome!
Oh, yeah. Awesome works, too.
So, we got Craig Roberts here. You want to give us a little quick bio about you and your walk with faith and everything?
Yeah, sure. What's up, guys? So, I'm Craig. First and foremost, I want to thank both you guys for having me on the show. You guys are doing great work, so keep it up. I'm actually your first guest, I believe.
You are. You get the honors, man.
Big news. Appreciate it. Yeah, so a little bit about my story. I had a little bit of I'd say, different upbringing compared to you guys, where I was actually, raised in the church, went to church, my mom, dad, brother, pretty close family. Used to go to Northland Church for a while. And then, as time went by, get to high school, college, started kind of getting into the wrong crowd, not making the best choices, and then just kind of strayed away. And then eventually joined the Marine Corps, where things just got a little bit more darker. Dealt with a lot of anxiety, depression, and then just felt kind of lost and distance. And then, it wasn't till I had one of these moments I was just, out one night, going to a bar like we normally do on Fridays. And then just having one of those moments where, something was like, tell me, hey, you're better in this. You don't need to be in this environment. Kind of like, what are you doing here? And I just felt like a big tug on my heart, like really feeling convicted. And this is on a Friday night, in a bar. Just felt like I was being pulled away from that situation. So kind of from that moment, I recommitted my life to Christ and really actually started living for Him. Um, not just listening to just like in church, just listening to the words or the pastor talk, and then not having any actions behind that. I really started to be more obedient to Christ, um, and that's where a lot of things start changing in my life. Um, and a lot of things started to get better for me once I started putting my trust in God again and really, really being all in for Him. Um, when a lot of stuff started getting better for me, so that's a little bit about my background. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to be in this group. It talks all over about the Bible, about having a good group of guys to be around. So um, thanks guys for starting this group too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Man.
We're happy to have you, man. Like, yeah, being our first guest, like, couldn't think of anyone better, have someone, share stories, share the mic with us, and talk about some deep stuff.
I think something I would like for you to share as well, just a little bit about what made you join the Found Men group, and then now after being in the group for a semester, what really drew you to step up when I asked you to lead the group going into next semester?
Yeah, so the first thing, what made me join, I've been in groups in the past through Action Church, and I've done some Bible studies here and there, but it seemed like every time, the semester was over, very few of us would stay in contact or keep in touch with each other. And I wanted more of that. I wanted some friends that I could talk to about a lot of different situations that I have to deal with, and actually like have friends that like can walk through life. I have a lot of other friends that are not believers as well, but it's just a different kind of bond when you both share the same faith.
Yeah.
So, and for a while too, I was praying about getting into a good group, and God answered that too. So. Your next question, I don't think I really felt like I had a choice when you asked me to lead the group.
Awesome. I cornered you.
Yeah, it was, kind of on the spot there, but that's okay. But when you asked me that, and I know your situation, I don't really feel like I had a choice to say no. Felt pretty convicted when you asked me to lead the group because I know it's the right thing, and a lot of times before I make decisions, I'm thinking like, would God want me to do this? And that answer is clear. If it's bringing more fellowship to other believers, if it's, getting new relationships or even sharing a little bit of the gospel to other people, that's the main thing, right? So, so that answer was, I remember you telling me to, hey, take a couple of days and pray on it.
Yeah, I literally was just about to set the record straight and be like, by the way, everyone, I did not corner him. I sent a text asking for his interest and even said to think and pray on it before giving an answer.
Yeah, so, he did. It's true statement. But yeah, it's interesting too how things move pretty fast too. Here I'm trying to find a good group, and then the term's coming over, and now I'm asked to help co-lead a group.
Yeah,
it's just pretty amazing how quick God moves.
It truly, and that honestly goes to the story of the founding of this group, was the fact that, I got saved, I got baptized last July, and the first semester that this group existed was last October, November, December, whatever semester that is, it started. And that was back when the group had nobody join at all. So I went and I became a small group leader because a pastor in our church came to me and said, hey, you should lead a small group. And so things do happen very quickly, but I think just like for Austin and for you both, there was obviously a little bit of discernment on my part as far as God really showed throughout each of those semesters when Austin had first joined that once the situation came about, Austin was definitely supposed to be the next leader of the group. And I think just as equally this past semester, it's been very well proven that through your connection with other people, your commitment to showing up every week, and your commitment to striving to be a very strong Christian man just showed that you were supposed to step into a leadership role.
Oh yeah, you make the drive every single Friday, dude. I don't know if you've even missed one meeting. So,
No, he hasn't.
yeah,
He has not missed
exactly.
one meeting.
And I'm going to be starting school next semester as well, in like a week and a half. So it just couldn't be any more perfect time. And so yeah, that's God's just like He's working, giving you the go ahead and go ahead and lead the group.
Yeah, and another thing too, sometimes you feel like you don't feel necessarily ready to lead, but most people don't feel ready to do a lot of things. Going back to Bible stories with David, and he's going up against Goliath. You think he felt like he was prepared to get into that situation? I mean, absolutely not. Same thing with Gideon and stuff, where he was feeling like, hey, I don't feel like I'm ready for this either. But then God showed him that he was. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm excited to help co-lead the group, and I'm looking forward to doing more weeks of talking Jesus.
Yeah. We got to do some tee it up sometime, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once I can get back to playing golf, because I'm still dealing with this knee injury.
Oh, yeah.
In the next month or two, I should be able to at least start swinging. Working some of the irons at least before I start to try to hit it as hard as I can.
Take it slow, yeah.
I'm actually going to Topgolf Friday. I just figured this out the other day. There's a supplier, GAF, is actually taking our company out to Topgolf this week.
GAF never took my company out. That's not fair. We bought a lot from them.
So we'll roll into the next thing, guys. Before we hit the topic, we'll hit our praise reports for the week. I guess I'll go ahead and get us started. One, so this is a follow-up to my praise report from Friday at group. So for everyone listening that's not a part of the Found Men group, I shared a story this past Friday that I had a really just awesome opportunity. Speaking of my work in suppliers, I was at ABC Supply Co. in Maitland. There's a gentleman there that I've gotten to know over the months that I've been going there day in and day out for roofing supplies. He's one of the warehouse workers, drives a forklift, grabs stuff for me when we place orders, and I got to pick stuff up. Seriously, one of the happiest, most genuine, nice men that I've ever met, especially in a very physically demanding, hot setting every day in and out. His attitude of how he would carry himself every day always brought a goodness to my day when I would see him in such a good mood, and I'd show up after being on a roof for hours and having to run to go get more supplies. Well, Friday I pull up and he looks defeated like I have never seen. Through conversation, figure out that he is just going through some stuff, work and personal stress. I asked him after we loaded up my supplies in my truck. He was like, "Is that all you need?" I was like, "Yeah, but is that all you need?" And we've had conversations about God and about Jesus before, me and him. So he knew that I was of faith, and he was like, he's like, I could really use some prayers right now. I was like, all right, I can do that. And then I waited, he was filling out my paperwork and he handed my receipt back to me. I was like, so, I mean, would you be okay if we just did that right now? And he was like, yeah. I got to pray for him. And I shared this story last Friday and it made me emotional. It's kind of making me emotional now too. I saw tears just rolling down this man's face after I got to say that very short prayer. And it was just heavy, and it just felt cool to know that I was doing what I'm supposed to do from God and being that discipleship and being there for others. And I felt like it made an impact. Lo and behold, Tuesday this week, I see him. Another one of the forklift drivers gets my load, and he was doing something else, but he made it a point to stop what he was doing, came over to me and said, "Hey, Austin, I just wanted to let you know that my day changed after I saw you Friday." and it just again hit me like a truck. Just the way that he walked up and said that everything changed that day. Like I felt so much better, and I just didn't even know what to say. And I was just, at first I said thank you, but I was like, I'm just glad that God was able to move, man. Like it was just really cool to see that in motion in real life, and just know that as men, like we can be there for each other. And if you walk in your faith publicly, that allows people to lean on you in times of need. And I got to do that.
Oh yeah, because that's what we're here for, man. Like for just it could be a complete stranger, you know. It could be someone you see just from work, you know. You don't even hang out with them or nothing.
Yep.
Like just a simple prayer can change someone's day, you know.
Exactly. Bring God into their day. So Craig, you feel like you want to share yours next, brother?
Well, going on to that. Well, first shout out for the wristbands. Appreciate the wristbands; those are awesome. And I think that's another way you're gonna express your faith publicly as well, right? I already know they're gonna be a conversation starter for some people that I see. 'Cause I work in an outpatient orthopedics clinic, and you know we have a lot of conversations throughout the day, but that's gonna be something that pops up throughout the week now. So just another kind of opportunity to share your faith or just point them a little bit in the right direction.
Yeah, and for those unaware of what
Yeah.
Craig is referring to, over the past few weeks, we've been in conversations about getting a little bit of merchandise or something wearable for the men in our group to kind of serve as a daily reminder. And we did land on, so your typical rubber wristbands, and they have our group name, Found Men, on the one side. And it's also got what is now our theme verse of the Found Men group, and it's Proverbs 17:17. A friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in a time of need. But yeah, I appreciate you shouting that out, man. But yeah, sorry. So one of you guys want to lead into your praise report?
Yeah, I mean, Craig, do you have any praise reports?
Yeah, I mean, I got one just recently, I think a couple days ago. One of my buddies that we grew up together, he recently reached out. I'm in like a group text with a couple other people, and out of nowhere, it was like 10 a.m. A couple days ago, and he just reached out and he was just like, "Hey, man, what church do you go to?" This is just kind of out of the blue.
Yeah.
So I started talking to him a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I really want to get back into a church. Where you go?" And then basically told him, "Well, I mean, go to Action Church." We just started going again at 9 a.m. And he's like, "Dude, I want to go with you. Can you come pick me up this Sunday?" And he happens to live maybe less than 5 minutes away from the church, and I don't even think he knew it.
That's awesome.
So my plan's to pick him up this Sunday and then bring him with us. So
Nice,
it's just amazing how God's working. Sometimes we're just out of the nowhere one day. Your buddies that you used to hang out with, and all of a sudden they hit you up one day and wonder what you're doing, and then next thing you know they're asking what church you go to, and can they go with you?
Yeah, like they used to be like a completely different way. Like you never thought they'd be asking you to pick them up and bring them to church.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
God is
so
good.
I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Nice. Well, for my praise report, I got cleared by Advent Health to go ahead and enroll in classes. So last minute, but it's a huge praise report. Thank you.
We are indeed.
So yeah, I got approved. I'll be starting August 26th as planned. Like we said before, a speed bump. Just a little thing. To
Flat
enemy
tire.
trying to shake my faith and stuff. And to be honest, I was getting really scared. I was like, mentally, I started going into dark places, thinking, oh, here's another, more rejection, just like you've experienced, all with the other things you try to do in life to try to, better your life, better your family. And, I I started to kind of think that a little bit, and I would have to just snap out of it. And whenever I would think that way, I would just start praying and thanking God and praising Him for what I do have, and that He has complete control over this situation and any situation. You know, so I just needed to remind myself that pretty much every single day for the past week and a half. So
yeah,
so
dude.
God is good. That's what I got.
I was about to say, even at group last Friday, I remember you trying to rationalize the rejection before it even happened. I mean, because you were like, oh, it's been past the time that they were supposed to give me the answer. And we were all telling you, like, dude, just wait.
Oh, and another funny thing is that I guess with the enrollment, like Canvas is like the site that they use to, you do everything. You enroll in your classes, you find out your schedule and all this stuff. It's been down for the past week. And literally, my professor emailed me last night around like 10 p.m. saying good news, you're good. And then the next morning is email saying, okay, you guys are good to go ahead and enroll in your classes now. It's fixed. So I was like, oh man, you just feel silly in those moments.
Yep.
You're just like, what was I worrying about? God has His hands on this. Like if like He sees your heart, He sees your selfless your ambition that you want to do good. He will bless that. So.
See, man. Well, I love hearing the praise reports. Well, I guess it's about time to get into our topic for the night. I guess I do have to make an honorable mention before we start the topic, though. We not only have our first guest on the podcast tonight, we actually have a live studio audience with our boy Devin here. We're all just here gathered tonight, too, because to celebrate his 29th birthday, he has been an OG in the group, been an amazing friend of those in the group, and someone very supportive. So did just want to shout you out, brother. I know you're not on a mic or anything, but he was interested in seeing behind the scenes of the episode. So yeah, if you guys hear any chuckles or sounds in the background, it's probably him messing around.
Yeah, he might let out a little giggle or
and there.
OG emphasis on old.
Yeah, he's about to hit the 3-0. So our topic for tonight is going to be a little interesting, and I know we kind of prefaced this a little bit. We didn't do a lot of pre-work, and there's kind of a, like Devin was saying, I have a truth bomb that is going to happen in this. But there's going to be a dual topic. We'll start off with forgiveness. With that, just kind of the way you've viewed forgiveness before committing your life to Christ, and now how you try and manage forgiving in the way we should since becoming a follower of Christ. If you want, I can kind of start that off to kind of give more of an in-depth of what I'm speaking on as far as the differences in those. So prior to being a follower, I'm telling you, I was the most begrudging person there was. Like, if you wronged me once, you were dead to me. Sometimes dependent on the severity of the wrong that you did, I would wish death upon you. That if we're being blunt and honest, there's been plenty of times before I was a follower that I said, like, I just wish that person was dead, or like I'd rather them just not be around. Depending on what that was, or even something as small and stupid as somebody cutting me off on the highway and me having to speed in front of them and flick them off as I pass them. So just that level of pettiness and unforgiveness that you would carry a lot before. And then once you start becoming a follower of Christ, there's supposed to be a shift, but there's definitely, I don't want to say there's an immediate shift or that there's ever a full shift, because it's always going to be there a little bit because we're not perfect. But just the differences, because let's say in that more dumb example, now on the road when people cut me off, like, I'm able to take a breath, forgive them for that action and just be like, you know what, whatever's going on with them is going on with them. It doesn't have to affect me. Or if someone personally does me much wrong, yes, I may hold some anger for a little while, but I'm actually able to get to places now where I do forgive them, and I pray for them, and I ask God to guide me to forgiveness and lift those emotions I have off of me. And I think that it's just hard to do. I think it's in general, it's hard for anyone. I think men I think men typically aren't terrible about forgiving people because we do just kind of let stuff blow over after a while. But I think there's a difference in letting stuff blow over and forgiving someone for their actions.
Yeah, basically, like if you're still dwelling on that,
Yeah.
that's that you haven't forgiven that person.
Yeah. Like, yeah, man, we're still cool, but maybe one day if you mouth off to me again, I'll punch you in the face, like for all the times.
Yeah, like I remember that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a conscious choice, like to make to forgive others too. You're still gonna have like the feeling, you still might have some feeling storms, but like just literally just making that choice, like I'm gonna forgive this person, and it's not gonna be easy, but just having the effort to make that decision, your feelings will always kind of twist things up and get you thinking other things. So I think it's just that kind of conscious effort to say I'm gonna forgive you, and that goes back to, it's not even with some people that did some things wrong to me, like I'm gonna forgive them, but like I'm not so sure if I'm going to actually still hang out with some of those people. So that's kind of like a little another topic with that, but
Forgiveness, not reconciliation.
right. So I forgive them, but I know that hanging out with these kind of people wouldn't be good for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, correct. So like that reconciliation.
Which we're not
That's-
called. God doesn't call us to
Right.
reconcile.
Right. So I think just that conscious effort, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to, have the discernment to kind of know when to stay away from people. Forgiving them is one thing, but yeah, having the wisdom to stay away from certain people or distancing yourself in a certain manner, like that because you still have to look out for your faith and your where your mind is going. If you're hanging around people that will cause you to think a certain way or lead you away from getting closer to God. That's basically the line for me. Like, are these people not like, it's always like, oh, they're not benefiting me, no, it's like, are they benefiting me in a purpose of getting closer to God, or are they drawing me away?
Yeah. So I think there's another piece of this too that I think we can't ignore, that would often be brought up by non-followers of Christ. What is unforgivable as far as actions? Not necessarily our own actions or like what people have done to us, but just that people do. So aka following the commandments, and like so it, and so basically say murder. When and if does that become when and if does that become forgivable? Like something like murder or some of those more egregious acts that happen in our community.
So I've actually heard some stories that have brought me to tears. There's been stories like in court where there's the killer is on the murderer is on the stand, and the father of the child comes up and says, I forgive you. You murdered my child, but I still forgive you. and in tears, and it's not just like a sarcastic, it's not like resentful, like you can tell like they forgive them, you know. And you don't see that a lot because our emotions like can really take over
Yeah.
and just have nothing but hatred in your heart. And you know, so like that's a God thing to forgive someone who murders a loved one or rapes a loved one. You know, there's been like child molestation where the parents are just like broken, you know, but they're able to still forgive that person.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I was leading into. So, I mean, Craig, your thoughts on like the forgiveness of those more egregious acts, because I feel like it'll be commonly brought up by a non-follower to ask, well, how, if you're not supposed to do these things biblically, how are they forgiven then?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, as Christians, we are, led by the Spirit. So a non-believer, is going to be led a lot more by the flesh, and their instincts are going to be a lot different, right? So they're going to have a harder time doing it. They're going to think, a lot of different things the way a Christian would approach it, being led by the Spirit. If God can forgive us of our sins, we have to make that choice, that effort to forgive even those terrible things that happen. It's just you have to make a choice. But yeah, I think that's the main difference, how we would view that, being led by the Spirit to respond to that, making that choice versus a non-believer is going to think different because they're not Spirit led.
Right. And just like having faith in leaning on God's understanding of things instead of your own, because we're humans, we're inherently evil. I don't know if you've ever been around little kids. They're evil. I don't care what you say, what anybody says. Yeah, they are not pure. But yeah, all jokes aside, like if we have that light in us, then we're able to lean on God and have that help us with our anger, because having resentment and anger and unforgiveness in your heart, that benefits nobody. It only hurts you.
Yeah, and it just being angry itself is not a sin, but having anger and then doing something with it oftentimes leads to sin. So that's just another feeling, emotion. I mean, we're all humans. We're gonna have that natural emotion, but it's by no means an easy choice. Like when you're saying you're watching parents forgive somebody after something that happened to their kid. I mean, I can't imagine being in that place.
Yeah.
Right. It's just.
I think so. There was something you said that I've been attached to for a while now. And it was when you said, if God has forgiven us for what we've done, how can we not forgive others? Because in his eyes, it is all equal. And that's something that is hard to wrap your mind around. And I think we had that conversation around the campfire at that, at like the weekend that we had a Found Man camping trip. But it was the comparison of telling a lie to your spouse and someone committing murder. How are those equal in God's eyes? Because they are both sinful. They are both against what he has called and laid out for rules for us in our laws. But it's just remembering the fact that if God forgives you for all the things that you've done, and that, like, I have done some pretty egregious things in my life. Would I compare it to killing someone, raping someone, doing something like that? No. But they're still pretty egregious. And if God can welcome me with open arms and do the things that he's done for my life in the past 13 months, like take or leave a little bit, but the things that he's done for me and the way I have genuinely and truly experienced his forgiveness, I can't not forgive someone. No matter what they've done in their life, whether it be separate from me or towards me, I find it nearly impossible. As angry as I may get at it, the action at first, it's near impossible for me now to actually continue to hold that unforgiveness in me, because I know that I do not deserve the forgiveness that I've received from God. And
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. Like we're not worthy of all that, all of his love and forgiveness and grace that he gives us, because we're just these we're these children,
yeah.
we're his little kids running around here on earth, like getting into all kinds of like crap.
And if you hold on to that unforgiveness, you are then basically saying, I am mightier than God, because God's already forgiven that person for what they've done to me or done in their life. But I'm mightier than him, and that's why I can hold unforgiveness in me.
Yeah.
I think that comes back to having a lot of just like self pride.
Yeah.
With that point too, if you can't forgive somebody, like knowing what God's done for you, I mean that's a good reminder every day to knowing what God's done for you, and not letting your self pride and getting too caught up with acting on emotional thoughts and feelings, and really just saying, I mean, yeah, like you said, it comes down to if God could die on the cross for our sins, I mean, we should be able to forgive somebody, if you just think about that, like when you're going through those things. I think that'll get a little bit more, clarity.
Yeah, because like we're as humans, we're just impulsive, and like we just instantly react to things emotionally, and it's instead of taking a step back and being like humbling yourself, it's like you gotta actually think about, okay, so I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect, and God forgives us anyways.
And you have to choose forgiveness, like you said earlier. It has to be a conscious choice, and it's one of Pastor Tyler's favorite sayings, is making sure that your feelings are led by choices, not your choices led by feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. So one thing that you brought up, Craig, that I think helps us segue into the other part of this, you brought up that self and ego and self-pride and everything. And this is a fun question that I had pop up in my first freedom group. And is self-forgiveness a thing? Are you able to self-forgive? I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts before I have my fun little truth bomb.
So yeah, that's a tricky one, because I have, before I was a believer, and then even like as a new believer, but especially when I was super dark, depressed, suicidal, I never even thought about forgiving myself. It was never even a thought.
That's an interesting, yeah.
And I couldn't comprehend that because it didn't make sense to me. I was like, how do I forgive myself? Like, am I supposed to just be okay with what I did or how I feel? So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
All right, Craig?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I think you have to at least make effort to forgive yourself. I think of being in a state of mind of always in, shame and condemnation and, pity, and being in that state of mind is just, it's hard to love others.
Yeah.
In that state of mind. So I think you have to. And I mean, it's not something that's like, hey, like it's a one and done. I forgive myself. Cool, I'm good. You're still gonna have those memories and some guilt here and there that comes just based on your life choices, right? Hopefully you learn from those, but that's another thing where it's just kind of a constant reminder, right? A lot of times, shame and condemnation is a lot more that voice of the devil, versus God, the Holy Spirit of just that conviction.
Yeah, exactly. So here's my little truth bomb, and I'll present it in the form of a question. So it's rewording the question we just did. So instead of is self-forgiveness a thing, is it self-forgiveness, or is it you having to accept the forgiveness of God? Does that kind of make sense?
That's more accurate, because like it wasn't until I was a Christian that I felt forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Because before it was never even a thought before.
Exactly.
But yeah, like as soon as I got into prayer and spending time with God, that's when things clicked for me, and I was able to let go of things I've done in the past, that I had held on to for such a long time, so much mental anguish. And yeah, it's he makes you white as snow.
Yeah. And that's kind of the whole point behind this question is it's the fact that self-forgiveness, at least in the way that I've now accepted this and the way that it was presented to me by a group leader, and I loved it. Self-forgiveness is self-righteousness, because that is you saying that you believe you have the power to forgive yourself for your actions and sins, where that power does not come from you at all. It only comes from God. You just have to accept the forgiveness that he has given you.
Yeah, I mean, so we're made righteous through Christ, right? So accepting that is huge. I like that point. And to know that, I think that helps you have that different mindset on that for sure too, right? Like once you can accept what Jesus did for you on the cross, right? And looking back at that too, it's tough for non-believers too. Going back to that, they can't accept that. They hold so much weight. They hold so much, like guilt, where it just feels like it's really tough. I mean, I can't imagine being on that other side now. Even as a believer, you still feel like you hold a lot of that, but I feel like it'd be twice as much if I wasn't.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of where this comes from too, as far as let's look at our current society, modern teachings, especially mental health is definitely become a much more popular conversation over the past handful of years than it ever was. But something you can consistently hear in mental health talk is forgiving yourself. And that's preached so much in our society because our society isn't accepting the forgiveness of God. So they feel as if they have the power and if they need to forgive themselves when they cannot.
Right, because it's our culture, society, with everything, even mental health, it's self-serving.
Exactly.
Instead of putting God first, and all else will follow. Like everything.
Yeah, I mean, when you're all in and you fully surrender to Christ, I think a lot of that, those choices, I mean, it becomes a little bit easier to not live in that state of mind of shame and guilt and stuff like that too. So.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of got my point across a little bit. Hopefully that got everybody's minds turning a little bit. What are we looking like right now?
43 men.
43? Yeah, I mean, we called it. We were right around that mark. So, well, Craig, I mean, we really appreciate you coming on, brother. We appreciate you stepping up to help lead this upcoming semester. We just continue to pray for our other brothers in the group. We hope that other people are willing and ready to come on. And we're willing and ready to have you on anytime you want, man.
Yeah. Thanks for your insight on everything, man. We always appreciate talking to you and hanging out with you.
Appreciate for having me on the podcast.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Well, we will see you next week. And again, if you guys have any questions, you want to hear something on the podcast, you can email me at austinjrivera@live.com. I haven't got any emails yet.
I haven't gotten
people
any.
Don't like me, I guess.
at least drop a comment. Put your thoughts on our little self-forgiveness bit here at the end. What do you think about it? Please, guys, give us a follow on Spotify. We're really trying to get the numbers up right now. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family.
Yes.
Only leave reviews if they're 5-star. If you do anything less than that, I will find your account and reconcile the situation.
All right. Have a good week, guys.